Christmas is officially over with, and the aftermath of the holiday season is deadly. From one user taking $20K to $1.2 million in a single day, to JP Morgan taking one of its clients' $50 million portfolios and burning it down to $1.5 mil, we're gonna go over the most diabolical trades of the new year. Chris Wynn is a user who initially had a humble $5,000 before making a crazy investment. Chris says, $250,000, Boeing, diamond emoji, 1 week, rocket emoji. For the past week alone, he's made over $232,000, which is almost an 1,100% gain. This is a very nice gain, and Chris could definitely put this into an index fund to ensure some pretty safe returns over the course of his life. However, Chris is not the type of guy who likes to settle for 10% annual returns. He says that in the matter of a month, he will take this account to about 1.5 mil. Chris did get his hands on an 1,100% gain for the week, but to reach this new goal, he would have to 6x his account again. Is he really up for the challenge? Apparently not, because 3 days later, he would update us with a screenshot showing that his portfolio was now down to 155K. On Christmas Eve, he would provide us with his latest update showing that his portfolio is now down to $85,000. I'm sure this is because he withdrew money though, not because he lost the rest of it. Either way, Chris is still up over $160,000 over what seems like the past 2 or 3 weeks. Chris Wynn's story might sound like a roller coaster of events, but honestly, these stories only get crazier and crazier. Boeing did wonders for Chris, but X Gon Give It To Ya is someone who took it to a whole nother level. 1K to 350K on Boeing. Congrats if you understood the assignment. Haters stay chasing my bags. X Gon Give It To Ya is up $141,000 for the day and $356,000 for the month. This is an insane gain to have considering he started with only $1,000. And it's even crazier when we pair the two WallStreetBets users together. Chris and X Gon Give It To Ya both achieved breathtaking gains. But what if you're someone who made a trade so absurd that it landed you on the news? Peter Dolger is a man who did just that. Dolger started investing with JP Morgan with a humble $50 million. Dolger wasn't a man who was gonna be satisfied with index level returns. So, he suggested putting $33 million into energy-based securities called Master Limited Partnerships. JP Morgan highly advised against this. Master Limited Partnerships, or MLPs, were very risky, and he wanted to dump 2/3 of his portfolio into these securities. Despite the words of discouragement from JP Morgan, Dolger knew what he wanted. He knew that he would have to make bold trades if he wanted to make impressive returns. JP Morgan would let him go through with it, and Dolger would sign a document that made it clear that JP Morgan would not be responsible for his losses. Apparently, Dolger was not as great of an investor as he thought he was. His $50 million portfolio shrunk down to only 1.5 mil, which is pretty concerning considering he was in his 80s and needed the money. Dolger suddenly hits everyone with a plot twist. He questions where his money went and says he had dementia this whole entire time. Dolger is mad at JP Morgan, but the money is long gone. Some Redditors would go on to blame his wife. User RCB whatever points out, "I didn't want to volunteer to people that my husband has dementia. We don't want to talk about it," she said. Regardless of who you think is guilty in this situation, Dolger is $48.5 million broker, and he now lives with his relatives. D. Krasny is a user who did not believe in Santa Claus, but instead believed in Elon Musk. Only took me 9 days to lose 290K YOLOing on Tesla calls. From November 29th to December 7th, this user lost 85% of his portfolio, which is an almost $300,000 loss. It's unknown if he was blessed with a Christmas miracle after this, but he has not updated us with any new screenshots of his portfolio, so it's tough to say. Similar to Peter Dolger, the next trader is someone who managed to literally make headlines after his trading catastrophe. SEC charges ex-LPL broker in Connecticut over $6.9 million free riding scheme. Andrew M. Camaro is a former LPL financial broker who was involved in quite the scheme. This all started just over a year ago in October of 2022. Camaro orchestrated a series of transfers to 4 different firms. The only thing is that these transfers were really unfunded. One especially bold move by Camaro was when he transferred $2.4 million from a bank account that only had $100 in it. You might be wondering why someone would do this. Obviously, the firm is going to realize that he doesn't have enough money in his account, and the transfer is going to be canceled. Camaro knew this, but he also knew that it would take the firms a few days to realize that he had insufficient funds. In this few-day buffer, Camaro decided to use these unsettled funds to trade high-risk options. These trades were not the brightest, and he would lose $3 million that he didn't even have in the first place. Somehow, he even managed to withdraw $615K before one of the brokerages noticed. This wouldn't matter though, because the brokerages would eventually find out, and his career in finance would be over. Camaro would of course be charged by the SEC, and things weren't looking too good for him. He would go on to say that this was all just incredibly unfortunate, and that he was inspired by the good old Wall Street bets. When asked about why he would do something like this, he humbly replies with, "I don't have the funds. I do not know what I was thinking when this happened." According to the article, Camaro started his career at Prudential Financial and worked there for 5 years from 2010 to 2016. While affiliated with LPL, Camaro had positioned himself as a financial planner with autism, a neurological and developmental condition, and specializing in serving individuals with disabilities and their families. Unfortunately though, this would all be put away after his bold scheme. Speculating Farmer is someone who started posting to WallStreetBets only about 2 weeks ago. Pomegranates are bullish for airlines. Speculating Farmer would arrive with pretty impressive due diligence, pretty similar to the time when we discussed the Emperor of Jenks losing his life savings due to ornamental gourds. Regardless, Speculating Farmer had faith in pomegranates, and surprisingly, it seemed like he was right. He would return only a day later with "It's pomegranates or nothing, UAL." Speculating Farmer was already up almost 134% on his calls. This was a $4,300 gain on what was initially $3,250. Unfortunately, these gains wouldn't last for long, and he updated us not even 24 hours later, showing he was down about $6,600. Financially ruined thanks to weak pomegranate demand. UAL. Speculating Farmer was up over 100% not too long before this, but he didn't lock in his profits and ended up losing it all. No Face the Ghost X is a user who has a portfolio that's been on quite the roller coaster. What 2 glimmers of hope before eventual defeat looks like. $42,850 to $115,000 to $0. No Face the Ghost X seemingly wasn't doing so bad at first. After some luck, he grew his account to $115,000, which is 2.68 times his original portfolio. He says, "I only have $2.50 left instead of $0 because I'm holding on to the last dollar I put into Shiba Inu for the live chart. Options almost made me rich." Then, almost saved me a couple times before taking it all. We'll be back to them as soon as I can save up another couple grand. So despite the ultimate downfall of his portfolio, No Face the Ghost still believes in his trading ability. Trying to make money in the stock market is pretty difficult. One thing that seemingly always works, though, is claiming sign-up bonuses. Thanks to our sponsor bankrewards.io, they make it easy to find and redeem sign-up bonuses for a variety of different banks and brokerages. I mean, look, Moomoo and Chime offer over $100 and 5 free stocks for simply transferring $300. Let's be honest, that's basically free money if you're willing to sign up. That's all for our sponsor. If you're interested, check out the link in the description. Brendog324 is a member of the WallStreetBets subreddit who shared the following screenshot along with "Lost nearly all my money day trading the daily movers list, then gained it all back by trading options. What else could go wrong?" As you can see by the screenshot, Brendog's portfolio definitely was going through some increased volatility during this time period. His portfolio was in the green, and he was up almost $14,000. But Brendog was not happy with this. This would lead him to making the following post only 6 days later. "I bet my entire life saving on meta calls that expire in 3 days. Brendog includes a screenshot showing that he had 180 calls that expired on December 8th. Meta was currently trading at $332.75, so Brendog's calls were already in the money. If Meta continued to rise, he could lock in a pretty sweet profit. However, it's safe to say that he did not achieve this sweet profit. He would return only a day later with this monstrosity, along with update, yesterday's meta YOLO. His portfolio now sits just under $29,000, even though it was at about $52K a week ago. For those of you unfamiliar, yesterday, I YOLO'd my entire life savings on meta options that expire this Friday. Why? Because I thought meta would go up, but apparently stocks can fall too. Well, today, the stock opened high at 9:30, then fell for the rest of the day. So right now, I'm sitting at around a 10K loss after selling in the afternoon. Apparently, I'm not allowed to post a certain ticker on this sub, but here's a screenshot of me dumping my remaining money into a certain stock who had their earnings call today, and it's not looking good. The stock that Brendog dumped the rest of his money into was GameStop, and GameStop would end up trading sideways by the end of the day. At this point, Brendog's portfolio sits at only $5,000, and things are not looking bright at all. He would return to WallStreetBets the next day with final update, what after YOLOing my life savings. Appreciate everyone who was rooting for me. It's certainly been a wild ride. For those of you new here, I YOLO'd my life savings of 38K into meta calls on Tuesday that expire this Friday. I ended up selling my meta calls yesterday for a 10K loss. Then, like a true regard, YOLO'd the rest into GameStop options that became near worthless overnight. I currently have only 5K left from the original 38K. To make things worse, I woke up from my sleepless night to see that Meta rocketed this morning, and if I had just held one more day, I would have been up to 140K at today's peak. Brendog's YOLO went pretty much as bad as it possibly could. Only a day or two after this post, both Meta and GameStop would significantly rise in value. This means that he would have obtained a profit with either stock if he didn't have paper hands. If he simply just held his original meta position, he would have been up to $200,000. Instead, he's down below 10K. Despite this, he reiterates that he's gonna be okay financially. He lost about 90% of his life savings, but he doesn't have any debt. He also has some money in his checking account and currently has a part-time job. He's only 20 years old, so obviously he still has quite a bit of time to secure his financial future. Supposedly, his ACT score was so high that he got a full ride to a private university. so he doesn't have to deal with any student loans. He points out that academic smarts don't always translate to financial smarts. He's always considered himself to be a hard worker and doesn't really spend money on things that he doesn't need. This money he lost was money he saved up during his teenage years from various jobs like food delivery, working at a fast food restaurant, and internships. He knows that it's time to save up again and move on from this loss. He isn't doing all that great mentally, but he appreciates all the support he's been getting. He takes full responsibility for his actions and knows that he got himself into that trade. He's been wanting to do something exhilarating, so he thought this was the time to do so. He notes that, after all, we only get one shot at life. Why not do something insane? This insanity doesn't stop here though. In his latest trading post, he includes the following screenshot along with "trying to recoup my loss. Day 1. Brendog doesn't give up on his portfolio and collects a $3,000 profit for the day. It's unknown if Brendog was able to take his portfolio out of the trenches because he stopped posting about stocks and started posting Brawl Stars content to Reddit. VennyViddy is a user who would make the following post. X gain 1.3k to 78k. Not much, but worked out. Moneybags. VennyViddy managed to take someone's paycheck and turn it into nearly 6 figures. United States Steel Corporation went on an insane run during the week of this post, jumping over 36% in just 4 days. Real Stock Near is a user who shared the following clip. Mark Minervini is a man who went on CNBC to talk about stocks. He talks about being up 25% on Upstart, but when asked about what the company does, he seems to blank on it.
Very powerful, very strong earnings. These stocks are acting
What do they do?
really
I don't
well.
even know them. What do they do?
Excuse me?
What does Upstart do?
Well, I'm sorry.
Mark Minervini is the author of Trade Like a Stock Market Wizard and Think and Trade Like a Champion. Upstart dropped to $13 at its lowest and now only trades at $44. A pretty steep drop from $390 2 years ago. Kevin FOMO the Degen is a user who started posting to WallStreetBets about 5 months ago. He would post amazing 5- and 6-figure gains, but his craziest trade wouldn't be made until December. Update: 20k to 1.2 million in 1 day, thanks JPOW and Solar. A day before this post, he would purchase 1,000 calls for the stock First Solar. The stock would rally, and Kevin FOMO the Degen would lock in a 7-figure gain. User Yeah This Was Bad would share the following screenshot, along with finally got to 25k. Over the past week, Yeah This Was Bad managed to obtain a nearly 1,100% gain and increased the size of his portfolio by over $22,000. According to him, he deposited $2,800 a while ago, but lost most of it. After this loss, something must have snapped inside of him. Trading SPY calls and puts, and Tesla puts, he miraculously managed to make his portfolio look like this. Some people would respond to his success with snarky comments. Still a long way to go until zero. Get to work. Fake. Rope emojis. And gamblers, not investors. Yeah This Was Bad says, I'm gonna take a break from trading for a bit and come back with a clear head. He must have forgot to take a break though, because he would return only 2 days later, posting a screenshot of a $16,000 gain for the day. Yeah This Was Bad is up over 66%, and his account has just about $42,000 in it. He says, was just testing if I could actually day trade more than 3 times. So I made 10 trades. Only 2 out of 10 were unprofitable, and I cut them before I lost more than 1,000. I also cut the winners around 2,500. I wasn't trying to go big. My goal today was literally just to do 4 trades, but things went damn well. Yeah, this was bad, was quote-unquote testing out this strategy, and he just so happened to use his whole account to do so. This doesn't matter though, because he was successful. At this point, yeah, this was bad was looking for gold. He was cooking, and he did not want to step out of the kitchen. That being said, he would return 3 days later to inform us that his portfolio now sat at $60,000. Going from $2,000 to $60K is already an insane milestone. But things would get even crazier when he would make his return to the subreddit 2 days later. 25K in a week. Final update, 100K. Yeah, this was bad had done the impossible. Up 88% for the day and over 6,600% for the month. He now had 6 figures in his Robinhood portfolio. It was a harrowing journey, folks. All day today, I was down $12,000. Until, of course, the wizard of the markets entered his tower. My 0 day till expiration SPY calls went to being up $35,000 in the blink of an eye, and I sold. Then, I frantically traded up to the all-powerful 6th digit I've been dreaming of for so long. Tomorrow marks a fortnight since my journey began on November 30th with a mere $1,250. I will now be withdrawing it all in preparation for the next great fight. The IRA approaches. Thank you all, and I wish you all the best. Skibbity out. I'm not sure what that whole skibbity part is about, but we definitely can't downplay how impressive his gain was. He hasn't made any new posts to Wall Street Bets, so let's just hope he didn't end up losing it all. Heartdeer is a user who only has 1 post on Wall Street Bets, but this 1 post definitely holds some weight. 1,000 to 16K 1-day SPY puts. On December 20th, SPY was trading pretty consistently. For some reason, Heartdeer thought it was a good idea to buy puts. This trade was really just a shot in the dark, and there was only about 2 hours left in the trading day. Suddenly, SPY started crashing, and Heartdeer's portfolio would go through the roof. SPY dropped from almost $476 to just about $468 in only 2 hours. A 1.5% drop in SPY is obviously gonna be good news for your puts that expire the next day. The user Voginator is someone who hasn't had very much luck over the course of his trading career. I'm an idiot. Rainbow, Bear. Voginator includes screenshots of 4 different accounts that are all red. On Robinhood, he has $0 left and has lost over $62,000 all time. On Webull, he's lost $10,000. On another Webull account, he's lost $1,700, and he's lost $9,000 with Moomoo. I will provide mods with any proof if needed. These are all my losses since 2020, which have been 90% of my life savings. Congrats, Bulls. Money printer go. My 5th account is someone who has had a bit more luck than others. I've pretty much just been buying SPY calls. My 5th account is up 352% for what seems like the past month or two. This 352% gain brings his portfolio right up to $98,700, just shy of that 6-figure mark. My 5th account buys a mix of both SPY calls and puts, mostly calls though. He enters and exits these trades daily. He says he chooses his trades by staring at SPY for half an hour and jumping in when he thinks it's about to go up. He isn't greedy with his trades. All it takes is a 20-cent jump for him to be satisfied. His account was pretty deep in the red before this, but he's now up 46K all time. He only has $6,300 in buying power though, so hopefully he locks in those gains. T-Dogger88 is a user who managed to get a diabolical trade without any options. Stocks weren't doing so well in December of 2022. A stock like Meta, which is now $350, was only worth $90 a share. Amazon was only $84. T-Dogger88 felt like this was totally uncalled for. He decided to make a big move, and it definitely paid out over the past year. Maxed out on margin at 8% interest on Robinhood and caught the bottom. No options. Lol. In just under a year, T-Dogger achieved a 292% gain, which brought him a whopping $865,000. T-Dogger has 7 figures in his Robinhood account, and it's a mystery what he's gonna do with it next. Letting all of it ride for 10 years. Bitcoin for 20. Will retire in 10 years. Expect it to at least 5x from here. Regardless of what happens, T-Dogger already got a crazy gain. And here's a picture of his current positions. User MJBooth40 shared the following to WallStreetBets. House money. He's up $129,000 all time, which is a 78,000% gain. Deposits and withdrawals were surely made, because if not, he would have taken $200 to $130K. He obtained this crazy gain mainly through Intel calls and shares. His current YOLOs are Robinhood and, again, Intel. Creda SCR is someone who really hasn't been doing so well this past year. In debt now. Chart says down 250K realized losses. Statement is down 430K. Creda SCR only has $9.09 in his portfolio. He lost an astounding $257,000 in 2023. Went short QQQ early this year with selling options. Borrowed money to keep holding on for dear life longer for anticipated market crash. Now I have huge debt, and even worse, I still have to pay 80K taxes from capital gains in 2022. Wish me luck, guys. Things aren't looking too good for Creda SCR, but hey, he still has $9 in his account. Maybe he has what it takes to recoup his losses. Lost Regard is a user who has high hopes for the future. This time will be different. Over the past year, he has lost just over $10,000 and only has $6 left in his portfolio. He says, 0 day till expiration for calls tomorrow, right? I think he's spot on. All he needs is a 1600x gain to break even all time. Dirty Sprite 2 says, started in October, at least I found a community. At first, his portfolio may not look too bad, but that only lasts up until he switches over from value to performance. He was initially in the green, but started getting options with closer expiration dates for higher potential returns. This obviously didn't go as planned. He's down over 83% year to date and only has 1,300 euros left in his account. OneMall4203 is a user who shared the following to WallStreetBets. 10K to 100K, and then blew it all on a single trade twice in 2 months. Post-mortem, next steps, and bonus photo from when I met JPOW below. OneMall started trading during college. He was able to turn a few $1,000s into just about 300K by making risky trades with margin. He then decided that margin simply wasn't cutting it. He wanted bigger gains, and we all know what he turned to next. After discovering options, he blew his $300,000 account in the span of about a week. However, this did not deter him. This was just a slight inconvenience. He began reading books and increasing his knowledge. He then tried out a plethora of new trading strategies. He notes that Friday was a tough day for him. He was up at 4:30 in the morning looking at pre-market activity. He had Uber puts that were about to expire and things were looking good for him. But suddenly, everything started to reverse upward as markets began to open. For about 10 seconds after market open, OneMall's portfolio was in the green. After this peaceful moment, things weren't looking so well. Conveniently, he already has a job at Wendy's, so his trip to the dumpster won't take too long. OneMall gives us some more information, but It's quite the lengthy read, and I've already gone over what's important. Here's a screenshot of one mall's massive loss with Uber, and here's a picture showing him plotting against Jerome Powell. Dazzling Prize 1231 is someone who knows that it's important to start off strong. My first year investing. Over the past couple months, Dazzling Prize has racked up a $6,100 loss, which is 80% of the portfolio. One Tooth Dan is a user who shared the following screenshot, along with the simple title, Emergency. One Tooth Dan is down $6,000 on Pfizer, which has been taking quite the tumble since the end of 2021. One Tooth Dan can also be found in the Daniel Larson subreddit, so I don't know how skilled of an investor he is. Huge shout out to Miguel Hazler and Bill Sturrick for subscribing to the Diamond tier on Patreon. Make sure to join if you want to be featured in future videos.